The flames consumed my future in less than 30 seconds. The Yale University crest curled and blackened. My name, Amara Okafor, disappearing into ash as my mother held the acceptance letter over the kitchen stove. "Girls don't need education, your brother does," she sneered, brushing the ashes into the sink. "You'll marry a good man. Tund will be the doctor. That's how it should be." I stood frozen, watching the remnants of 4 years' work wash down the drain. Every AP class, every sleepless night, every perfect SAT score, gone. Behind her, my father nodded approvingly while my younger brother Tund smirked from the doorway, already wearing the Harvard hoodie bought with money saved from my college fund. "You'll thank me someday," my mother continued, wiping her hands on her apron like she'd just finished a routine chore. "American universities fill girls' heads with dangerous ideas. Better you stay here, learn to cook properly, find a husband from a good family." I didn't cry. I'd learned years ago that tears only fed their conviction that women were too emotional for real accomplishment. Instead, I memorized the scene, the satisfaction in her eyes, the smoke still lingering in the air, the April sunlight streaming through windows I'd soon never see again. That night, I packed everything I could fit into my backpack. I left through the same window I'd snuck through to attend SAT prep sessions they'd forbidden. I had $347 saved from tutoring jobs they didn't know about, a full scholarship to a state school they'd never heard of, and a fury that would fuel me for the next decade. I didn't say goodbye. The first years were brutal. I worked 3 jobs while taking full course loads, lived on raiment and spite. My parents told everyone I'd run off with some boy, bringing shame to the family. They didn't mention the acceptance letter, the ashes, the dreams they burned. I graduated summa cum laude with a degree in biomedical engineering, then a master's from MIT, not Yale, but close enough to taste the irony. My PhD came from Stanford, funded by research grants and a growing portfolio of medical device patents. My mother would have been proud if she'd known, if she cared, if she hadn't already decided my worth ended at my womb. By 30, I founded MedTech Solutions, a company developing affordable diagnostic equipment for underserved communities. The irony wasn't lost on me, helping strangers access healthcare while my own family had deemed me unworthy of basic dreams. I kept tabs on them through social media and mutual acquaintances. Tund had graduated from Harvard, yes, but barely. He'd opened a small practice in our hometown, married the daughter of my mother's best friend, and settled into the life planned for him. The golden child, following the golden path. My parents aged in photos, their smiles growing tighter each year. They still told people they had 1 child. Sometimes, when vendors at medical conferences asked about my unusual last name, I'd say my parents were dead. It felt true enough. Then, exactly 10 years after the burning, my phone rang at 2 a.m. Unknown number, but I recognized the international code. Nigeria. Home. Former home. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Amara?" The voice was smaller than I remembered, fragile like ash. "It's your mother." I said nothing. 10 years of silence couldn't be broken by her saying my name. "I know you hate me," she continued, words tumbling out. "But please, we need help. Tund, there was an accident. A surgery went wrong. The patient died, and the family is suing. We'll lose everything, the house, the practice, everything." Still, I said nothing. "The lawyers need $2 million. Tund's insurance won't cover it because he made mistakes, falsified some records. Please, Amara, you're our only hope." There it was. The golden child had tarnished. The future doctor had become a liability, and suddenly, the worthless daughter had value. "How did you get this number?" I asked, my voice steady as surgical steel. I hired someone. A detective. I know about your company, your success. I've known for 2 years. 2 years. She'd known where I was, what I built, and still hadn't reached out. Not until she needed money. "Say something," she pleaded. "Please." "I'll be there in 3 days," I said and hung up. The flight to Lagos felt like time travel. Each mile closer to home, former home, peeled back layers of the woman I'd become, revealing the girl who'd watched her dreams burn. I dressed carefully for the reunion, a simple but expensive dress, minimal jewelry except for the Yale class ring I'd bought myself. I'd earned it, even if I'd never attended. Let her see what she tried to destroy. The house looked smaller, shabbier. The gate that had seemed so imposing in my youth now just looked tired. My father answered the door, and for a moment neither of us moved. His hair had gone completely gray. His shoulders stooped like he'd been carrying something heavy. "Amara," he said, and I saw him catalog the changes, my posture, my clothes, the confidence that comes from building something from nothing. The living room held ghosts. There was the chair where I'd studied in secret. The table where they told me university was wasted on women. The kitchen doorway where Tund had smirked as my future burned. My mother appeared from the hallway and I almost didn't recognize her. The proud woman who destroyed my letter looked hollow, desperate. She moved to embrace me, but I stepped back. "Let's discuss why I'm here," I said, sitting in my father's usual chair. A petty victory, but I took it. They laid out the disaster. Tund had botched a routine surgery, then tried to cover it up by altering records. The patient, a young mother, had died. Her family wanted justice. The evidence was damning. "He's a good boy," my mother insisted. "He just made one mistake." "Falsifying medical records isn't a mistake," I said. "It's a crime." "You don't understand," she snapped, some of her old fire returning. "We gave him everything. The best schools, the best opportunities." "The best opportunities," I repeated, tasting the words. "Tell me what happened to my Yale acceptance." Silence. My father looked away. My mother's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "That was different," she finally said. "You were a girl. It wasn't practical. I was valedictorian. Perfect sets. Full scholarship." I pulled out my phone, showed them my company's website. Last year, MedTech Solutions generated $50 million in revenue. We've provided diagnostic equipment to over 300 clinics in rural areas. I have 47 patents. Each achievement was a nail in the coffin of their assumptions. "We did what we thought was best," my father said quietly. "You did what was easiest," I corrected, following traditions instead of seeing who your children actually were. My mother's hands trembled. "Will you help Tund?" I looked at her for a long moment. Yes. Hope flickered in her eyes. "But not how you think." I pulled out a folder I brought. "I'll pay for the victim's family to have the best legal representation. I'll ensure they get justice for their loss. As for Tund, he'll face the consequences of his actions. You destroy your own brother." My mother gasped. "I would hold him accountable, something you never did." I stood. "You burned my acceptance letter because you said girls don't need education. You were wrong. Education taught me the difference between justice and enabling. It taught me that some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt." "Amara, please," my father said. "We're family." "Family?" I laughed, but it was sharp, brittle. "You told everyone I ran off with a boy. You erased me from family photos. You had one child for 10 years. Don't invoke family now." I headed for the door, but turned back one last time. "You know what the irony is? If you let me go to Yale, become a doctor like I dreamed, I might have helped Tund for free. I might have been the daughter you could have been proud of. Instead, you burned that possibility. And now, like everything else you've touched, it's just ash." My mother sobbed. "What will we do?" "What I did," I said. "Start over with nothing. Maybe you'll learn what I learned, that sometimes the best thing that can happen is losing everything you thought mattered." I left them in their living room, surrounded by photos of their golden child and empty spaces where I should have been. The taxi to the airport smelled like Lagos traffic and new beginnings. 3 months later, I read about Tund's conviction in an online Nigerian newspaper. Medical license revoked, 2 years in prison, the family practice sold to pay settlements. My parents had moved to a small apartment in a different state, starting over in their 60s. I felt no satisfaction, just a hollow ache where family should have been. But I'd learned young that some wounds don't heal. They just teach you to walk differently. Last week, Yale invited me to speak at their medical school about innovation in global health. I stood at the podium, looking out at bright faces full of dreams nobody had burned. Yet, 10 years ago, someone told me girls don't need education. They were wrong. But more importantly, they taught me that the dreams others try to destroy often grow back stronger, rooted in purpose instead of permission. The students applauded. In the front row, a young Nigerian woman wiped her eyes. After the talk, she approached me. My parents want me to quit, go home, get married, she said. They say medicine is too hard for women. I handed her my business card. When you graduate, call me. MedTech Solutions always needs doctors who understand that the hardest battles aren't in the OR. They're in proving you belong there all along. She clutched the card like a lifeline, like hope. That night, in my hotel room overlooking the Yale campus I'd never attended as a student, I thought about my mother, wondered if she ever stood at her kitchen stove and remembered. If she ever considered that the smoke from burning dreams has a way of getting in your eyes, blinding you to what you've lost. I built my life on the ashes of her expectations, succeeded not despite her cruelty, but because of it. The fire she lit to destroy had forged something harder, sharper, more resilient than any acceptance letter. She'd been right about one thing. I'd thank her someday, not for the lesson she thought she was teaching, but for the one I actually learned. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right, and then using that proof to ensure no other girl watches her dreams burn in someone else's kitchen. The next morning, I established the Amara Okafor Scholarship Fund at Yale Medical School. Full ride for young women whose families believe education is wasted on daughters. The first recipient was announced last month, a brilliant girl from Lagos whose parents had threatened to burn her acceptance letter. They didn't. Her acceptance letter now hangs framed in her dorm room, protected by glass and the knowledge that some fires, once survived, inoculate you against ever burning again.